Hey everyone, welcome to A Loop Through a Loop. I'm Tara. I'm glad you've come back to hang out with me. We're going to talk a little bit about some knitting that's happened in the past month since we last got together. And we're going to start with FOs. But before we get to that, excuse my appearance. We're just coming in today as we are. This is Tara in the wild, and under this hat is where the wild things are. So, you know, I'll get around to taking care of this, but I had to seize the moment. Kids are fed, pants are changed. This was just kind of like, I have to do this now. So we're going to dive into FOs first, what I was able to finish. And I'm gonna start with a garment. And this is the Summer Shelly top designed by Nancy Ricci. And this was a great pattern. It is super simple as far as lace is concerned. For me, lace knitting is something that can be really intimidating because for me, when I knit lace, I can't always tell where my mistakes are as easily as just, a plain garter or plain stockinette stitch or in color work. It's a little more obvious for me to see where my mistakes are. So lace knitting for me can be really intimidating because I don't realize I made a mistake until later, and then I'm not sure how to fix it. So I'm trying to conquer that fear. I know that this shell lace is a very simple, basic lace pattern, and Nancy's writing of her pattern was really great because she puts in little moments where she tells you, stop and just take in the beautiful thing that you just made. And I thought, oh, I love that. So it's just made of 2 panels and then seamed together, and I wasn't really looking forward to seaming the pieces together, but once I started, I really kind of liked it. So I feel like that's opening my mind up to making seamed garments. I think I've only made one other one before, and that was my Gloam cardigan. I'm pretty sure that's the only other one I've ever done. And it's not like it's hard, it's just different, and it has a different rhythm when you're seaming. Now, like all garments that I make, there's always something that I change or modify based on what I need or what I have. So I didn't have a skein or two of DK weight yarn that I thought would work for what the pattern called for. She called for a DK weight and like a cotton yarn because it's supposed to be summery. It should have some drape to it and be kind of comfortable. So I knew I didn't want to use anything that was like a rustic wool that had lots of memory. I wanted something that had some drape. So this is a merino yarn that's super wash. So it has good drape. It's a fingering weight knit on a US 6. So that also makes it super drapey. And I think this is going to be a great spring top for me. In summer it's going to be too hot to wear wool, but in the spring, is the birth of spring right now. We have buds that are starting to come out on our tree and in our front yard, and there are birds singing in the morning when we go out to drop kids off for school. And so spring is coming, and I think this for me is definitely something that will get a lot of wear. My favorite way to wear this right now is just to put a button up underneath and throw it on top. I did knit this a little bit longer. It's kind of just an average length. It's not long, but it's not cropped. So, if I wore it with a skirt, I'd probably tuck it in. Otherwise, if I wear it with a button down and then some pants, I just leave it out and just kind of keep things super simple. It's put together, but kind of undone. I struggle with, putting myself together and making sure everything's just right and everything's just perfect, because that's not the reality of it. The reality is that I'm just a mess sometimes. And so that's why I like my outfits to be just a little bit undone. So then we just go ahead and put the expectation out there that perfection doesn't exist. And, look at this. It's a mess. It is a mess. If I took my hat off, I would scare somebody. Like it's, Okay, my next two finished objects are pairs of socks. So I have finished my ode to Barbara socks that I started for myself. And remember, I mentioned that this was just using a skein of yarn that had been gifted to me. And I also want to mention that this yarn, and I can't remember who the dyer is or the name of the colorway, so I apologize for that. But you can check my Ravelry page. I'm probably sure I have it written down, or I might have mentioned it in past episodes. But this was gifted to me as a birthday skein. And I've used just about every single yard of that yarn in this project. It feels so great. And so this was a great way to gift a knitter. You know, it's so soft, feels so good. Oh my gosh. So anyway, back to the socks. So this was gifted to me as well. And this is designed by Summer Lee Knits. I forgot to say that. So Summer Lee designed the sock. It's Ode to Barbara. I made another pair to be gifted, and this pair is for myself. Now this yarn does not have any nylon in it. It's just merino wool, superwash merino wool. And I mentioned that I know that that is not the particular fiber that's best for strong, sturdy socks. It's not. It's perfect for like a shawl or something, or like a hat. But for socks, you normally want something to keep the strength. Well, I don't know. Can you notice that there's a color difference in the toe, and then there's also a color difference in the heel? So what I did is I got in my sewing kit and I pulled out my favorite color of thread, which is like this hot neon pink, kind of a coral pink, leaning a little bit more towards pink. And what I did is that when I knit the toe and the heel, I just held that thread together with my yarn. There was somebody that commented about that recommendation, so I thought I would try it. Now, I have only worn these socks one time to church, and so I can't tell you about the longevity or how the socks are going to hold up. But what I can tell you is that because of the 3x1 ribbing, they fit fantastic. And I would definitely make this again. This also has the lace pattern in it. And once you get going and you catch on to the pattern of the lace repeats, it's easy to remember, and I didn't have to have the pattern constantly with me in order to know what I was doing, and that's pretty awesome. Then my second pair that I finished, this is also designed by Summer Lee Knits, and I apologize, but I can't remember the name of the pattern. It's a bundle of 3 socks, and so it'll be on my Ravelry project page. That's why I don't do show notes, because everything's on my Ravelry page. So, you know, if you have any questions about needle sizes or gauge or yarn or anything like that, you can just click on the link or go to Ravelry and type in my username and just find information there. That's going to be the quickest and probably the most efficient way for you to do it. I can't remember everything off the top of my head, and you know, in episodes past, I would try to hold myself accountable to remember everything so people would think I had it together and knew what I was doing. But honestly, this season of making now, I'm just going with it, man. Like I don't know. I don't know the name of the sock pattern other than the image of her grabbing the 3 socks that she designed that are in this pattern bundle has been with me for months and months and months. So what I did is I was blessed with 3 skeins of sock yarn from somebody after I had mentioned last time that I wanted to make some socks to wear to church. And the problem is I don't have any sock yarn, so I'm just gonna use what I have. Well, somebody reached out and asked if they could bless me with some sock yarn. I said, yes, please. And so I've already whipped up 1 pair with one of the skeins. So this is kind of like a brown rustic color. I wore it with some boots. And what I love is, I'm not going to put this on my foot to show you because I have not shaved my legs in so long. You could probably braid the hair. So I'm just going to put it on my arm. But I know that the colorway is dark, which makes it hard to see the beautiful detail that I love about this sock, because it's really the cuff up here where all the design is, and everything else is just vanilla, plain, basic sock, which was actually really nice. It made the sock go really fast. But up at the top, there's some lace and some baubles, and it was so fun to make. That's not too bad. You can kind of see it there. But these looked great with my boots. I loved the juxtaposition of something rustic, like brown, like a brown masculine color with the boots, but then also taking something very feminine and pretty like the lace and the baubles. That's kind of probably my favorite way to mix and match things, is to kind of take opposites and find a way to make it work. So that's my finished objects. I think that's pretty good. Now, granted, I will say I started this top a long time ago. I don't remember when I started it, but I started it a long while ago. It has been sitting in knitting purgatory for a while, and I just decided spring is coming. I want to wear that. So I just made myself pick it up. And when I first started it, I was like, I don't know that I really want to do this. There are other things that I want to work on. But what I did is I allow myself to work through the, I don't want to do this thinking and feeling, until eventually I kind of caught the rhythm. And then I started to fall back in love and really enjoy it. And I think that's kind of what I've learned through the process of knitting that. And then these socks, I think it's too soon to say, but I think maybe this is like the birth of my sock journey. Like these two pairs were very fun for me personally to knit and to make. They had something interesting in them, but it wasn't nothing monotonous about it. You know, when I made the DRK everyday socks, I really like how those fit, but that is like strictly product knitting. Like I just want the thing. I just want the thing that feels good on my foot, that keeps it warm. I don't care if it looks cute. Where this is process and product like heaven for me. There was enough interesting things going on while I was making it. Plus the end result is beautiful. So I think Summerly Knits might be like my sock leader for right now, just based on her aesthetic. As far as like, I love her colors. I love her her designs. It works with me. So we're gonna move into what I'm working on currently. So I finished 3 things. I picked 3 things that I've been working on, and I can't remember what I shared last time, but I guess it doesn't matter. So what I am currently working on is my Pinguono. And I think I showed this last time. I'm almost done with it. I have just started the I-cord bind off. And what I'm doing is I'm doing it in 2 colors because I just like the way that it looks. I have so many different colors in here that I thought, well, we might as well go ahead and make it colorful all the way. So hopefully by the next time that I see you again, this will be done. It will be blocked. I have knit this using Holstgarn Super Soft. So it's rustic. It has good memory, which means it's going to have good structure to it. So it's not going to become floppy and droopy and droppy. As time goes on, it will hold some of its structure. So I made this more like a jacket, just kind of fun. I just made this not pre-planned, not premeditated, clearly just playing with different colors of yarn and how those colors mix. What happens when I put this color with this color and then that color with that color, kind of, you know, playing around with yarn theory. I know how to mix colors when it comes to like painting or something like that, like we learned that in school in art class. But when you're marling with yarn, some of those theories still apply, but sometimes when you marl yarn, you can get something that has more of a solid color effect. Like this is marling 2 colors of yarn. They kind of look like one color. Or you can marl yarn and you get the difference between light and dark. And so that's just what I played with. Here on the back, with the back panel, I played with marling I held one strand of the same color all the way through and then just changed out the colors to make the rainbow. Of course, I played with some stripes here. So this is all these are marling 2 colors, but I kept the colors as close together as I could, so then they looked like solid colors. And then on this sleeve, I just played with how can I make it look like the colors are fading into each other, because what I noticed is that a lot of patterns or designs that say, oh, this is a fade, well, when I look at it, I'm like, well, that doesn't fade. It's just stripes. And I feel like kind of a brat when I say that, like, oh, that's not fading. That's not a fade. But when I think of fade, I think it should fade. And so I just know what I like and kind of unwilling to settle for that. So, you know, take that as you will. But here I just played with marling different colors. I don't know, how close do I have to get this so then you can see how they're marled together. And then I did the same thing. So like this played with moving through like a rainbow, but again, I held the same color throughout and then just changed out colors and just kind of followed a rainbow theme. So then the front and the back kind of go together. And then down below, I just kind of worked on marling to kind of melt the colors together, I guess. Because they don't fade, but to me, it kind of makes me think of melt. Like if you took some crowns and melted them, that's what it reminds me of. And then the collar is just a happy rainbow. I love that. So like I said, this is an object of play for me. I'm definitely going to wear it. It makes me think of Joseph and in the Bible, in the Old Testament, when he was given a coat. They say it was a coat of many colors. And what I love about Joseph's story is that he was kind of a snitch, right? Like he would tell his dad all the dirty deeds his brothers were doing. That's, you know, we could look at that. But, you know, Joseph went through lots of suffering. He was betrayed by his brothers and sold into slavery. And then once he was freed from being a slave, and then he was accused of adultery, of having an affair with a man's wife, and that wasn't the case at all. She threw herself at him, and he ran away. And then because of her silliness, she said that he forced himself on her and all that kind of stuff. So then, you know, he was put into prison, and so he went through all this suffering, and he didn't do anything wrong. There was nothing he did wrong. And then at the end of his story, you know, his brothers are coming because a famine is going on. And so Joseph is now in the position where he is working for the Pharaoh, and he's the governor. He knows his brothers are coming. He knows that there is years of plenty, and they're coming on to years of famine. His brothers are coming because they need help with this famine. And Joseph sees them, and he tells them who he is, that I'm your brother that you sold into slavery, but don't be angry or ashamed with yourselves, because it's God who sent me here. So Joseph went through all of this suffering, and that was the way that the Lord led him to where he was, so that Joseph could prepare the way and store all this food up so that he could protect his family and make sure that everyone had enough to eat. I just really love that story, because I feel like there are a lot of us, myself included, especially with what I had gone through after having William, where we didn't necessarily do anything wrong. Like, yes, we're all sinners, we all make mistakes, but, you know, I didn't do anything to warrant being punished with depression or anxiety. And, you know, that's just my story, but there are lots of other people where they have gone through suffering and they did nothing wrong. Like that suffering just happened to them. And I think in the end, when you come out of it and you get separated by time and things start to happen, that you realize that, like for me, I realized like, well, okay, so there were lessons that I learned while going through this, and God has sent me to this place. And in that suffering, I can and I will find ways to find joy in helping others so that glory can come to God. So that is kind of just that special project for me right now. And I mean, that has been weighing heavily on my heart. Like that was a big aha moment when I was making that. So then the other thing that I've been making, I've also been doing quite a bit of sewing. Now, I'm not going to go in all the ins and outs of everything that I've been making with my sewing, because I tend to just use the same pattern over and over again. So, you know, like in a previous episode, I showed that this was like a year ago or something. Like I had made 6 skirts. I'm not going to show you all the things. I've made some tops and some pants that were all the same pattern. But I've also made a different kind of bag. This is not a drawstring bag, but it's a double flat bag. So this is my purse for right now. And I do like the pattern. I would totally make this bag again. In fact, I have plans to make another one with just one flap. And this is by Emmeline Bags, and I used Jess over at Okla Root. She has a tutorial that I used, and I studied that for several days before making this bag, and I still made mistakes in it, but it's kind of nice because there's a magnet that holds the center loop, and so I'm able to fit in a small project bag. Inside is the Musselburgh that I have started after I finished the brown pair of socks. I started a Musselburgh for myself. It's kind of all wrinkled because it's been in the bag, and the baby's crying. I'm going to make this really quick. So I've started on this. This is using Pearl Soho's Linen Quill in Pink Pop and Red Poppy. These are colors that I had left over from other projects. I wanted a hat that was color blocked, just kind of slightly, just to have some fun. And this is really good for all the waiting that I do while waiting to pick up the kids from school, waiting through dance class, waiting through therapy, waiting through sitting in church, all that kind of stuff. So last thing, real fast, and then I gotta go see my baby. The last thing that I've been working on, I didn't show this last time because I had forgot about it, but I have been working on Pink Velvet by Andrea Mowry. This is using some Malabrigo sock yarn with some Surrey from Northwoods Fiber. I think it's a one-of-a-kind colorway. And what I love about this is my favorite, like baby poop green mustard color. And then this Surrey, in certain lights, it looks like it just glows. And I love that. It's so super soft. I did modify the pattern just a little bit, and next time when I have this finished, I'll go into that. I'm not gonna go into it right now because I gotta go get my sweet boy. So that's everything. That's the down and dirty quick of it. Really quick before we go, you know, I've been writing on myself. I don't have tattoos. This time I used a little Sharpie, and I just want to share with you really quick, really fast, what I've been learning in the good book. So first up, we'll do, well, I have little crosses on my wrists because the Lord Jesus hung on a cross and died for us. And what I have been learning through this is I'm reconnected with my faith in a very much deeper way than I ever have before. And I realized that wherever I go, I want to bring all of me, not just part of me. So if this is my podcast, what I want to do is not only just bring myself as a maker and a knitter, but also as a woman of faith, because that guides a lot of what I do. So 5 and 2 is a reminder that Jesus fed 5,000 with 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, and he did not send the apostles out to get more food, nor did he send the people away. He fed them with what they had, and there was surplus. There was plenty. So I'm trying to remind myself that I have plenty here, and kind of realize that I already have the treasure, and there's surplus here. There's an abundance already. So that's my reminder. And then also Romans 12:6-8, it just talks about that God has blessed us with different gifts. And that can be the gift of kindness. It could be the gift of giving. It could give the gift of speaking, the gift of leadership. And we are called to use those well. And so I'm trying to figure out what exactly my gift is. I have no idea, but I think for right now, my reminder is just whatever I'm doing, whatever gift I have in that moment, or, while I'm on this journey to try to find it, is to use it well. So that's everything. I'll see you next time. Sorry, I can't just stay and chat. I love you all, and I'll see you next time. Bye.